and her standards remain in the gutter. I'm sorry, y'all. Them standards at the earth's core, I can't even see them. They disintegrated. I would tell you to stand up, but we need to take baby steps. Just sit up. Welcome to La Vida Rosa. I'm your host, Pinky, and today we're going to be talking about Love is Blind Season 6 reunion. And y'all, this is going to be a long one. I'm going to let you know right now, you need to sit back, get your popcorn, and relax because there was so much going on in this reunion. But before I get into it, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into this video. First things first, this reunion was good for them, at least for the first half. Okay, I'm going to give it to them for the first half. They got it right. Okay, before we get all the way into that, y'all, it's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. Every time I turn around, there's something new happening. Some more receipts, somebody speaking out, people getting exposed left and right. And we addressed some of that on the reunion, but it's so much more that has come out. I cannot keep up with it all, y'all. And I don't have the wherewithal to want to dig and research for all this stuff. So if you know of something that happened, I want you to DM me. Send it to me on Instagram. I'm going to put my QR code on the screen. My links are also down below. You can send me links in this comment section. I want to either go live or do a video featuring everything that has come out during and after the season. And, you know, just be able to like put it all in one place. But I need your help with that. With that being said, Nick and Vanessa were the hosts again. And of course, I rolled my eyes when I first saw them. They got on my last nerve pretending like they were on the other side of the wall and hearing each other. We did not need that skit, okay? I always have to do something real corny. Somebody must have lit a fire up under Nick and Vanessa. At least for the first half. I'm going to give it to them for the first half. The second half, they fell back into old habits. But for the first half, they were actually asking the questions we wanted to hear. And when they did ask a messy question, asked a follow-up question just to make sure we got, you know, down to the nitty-gritty, held people's feet to the fire. Everybody showed up that we truly wanted to hear from, especially after the dumpster fires last year and the year before. This reunion, it would have made up for it had they kept that same energy in the entire time. I don't know who they had behind the scenes writing those questions. It was giving Andy Cohen at a Housewives reunion. You know, where he be reading those questions that really he or somebody else behind the scenes wrote and they act like, you know, Jennifer from Wisconsin wrote it. It was those kind of questions. And they were saying it with their whole chest. And so I'm just like, this must be their contract renewal year or something, because they actually came to work this time. This reunion was different from others because it featured couples and contestants from past seasons, but they got these couples that we really don't care about. They bringing on Kwame and Chelsea. Why are y'all forcing Kwame and Chelsea? We do not care. Ow. Let me stop. Let me calm down. I'm getting too hot. Colleen and Matt, they didn't even say anything the whole time until they asked them a question. And I was just concerned that she finally moved in with him. I mean, I knew it was coming. They're married, but a little scared. Alexa and Brandon, congratulations to them that they're expecting, but they turned me off at their reunion. I haven't been checking for them since. Gigi is pregnant by someone that was not featured on the show, so it was kind of like, okay, we don't care. Like, why y'all bring her on here just to show she pregnant? And I didn't even recognize her. She looks completely different with that hair color. Why are y'all bringing back Micah and Izzy like they were likable? And then y'all are going to put them on Perfect Match with Jessica. That part of it fell flat for me. The only people I was excited to see was Brett and Tiffany, of course. I was so happy to see that they're still together and going strong. So that was cute, but halfway didn't even need them. I'm kind of sad we didn't see Lauren and Cameron. Like, if y'all were going to feature anyone, at least feature our faves. Maybe they weren't available. Maybe they don't fool with the show like that no more. I don't know. They're the main couple that made everybody fall in love with the show in the first place. So you'd think that you would feature them. And also, why are they not hosting the show by now? It's on its 6th season. I feel like Lauren and Cameron should definitely be the hosts. They made sure to mention that out of the 11 couples that have gotten married on that show, that 9 are still together, which, look, they're doing damage control. Because of all of these lawsuits they have against them, all of these allegations, you know, they really are trying to spin things on this reunion, and it feels like an Olivia Pope PR move the whole time. It's very transparent and see-through that they're just trying to push a narrative. And I ain't even gonna lie, 9 out of 11, you can't even argue with that. Most of these people I didn't expect to be together that long. But anyway, let's go ahead and get Amy and Johnny out of the way. They're the only couple from this season that got married, and they are still going strong. I'm not saying that you have to have huge issues, but a part of me feels like they were kind of pushing hard to have this perfect couple narrative too. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. But I'm not going to go too hard because they look happy, child. I do like the fact that they pressed him a little bit on him trying to push birth control on her, and like making the only two options be birth control or a vasectomy when condoms are right there if you really don't want to get pregnant even while married. And he looked very embarrassed, and he kind of brushed it off like, oh, I just didn't know any better. And yeah, I do think you were ignorant. Even Amy said she had to teach you a lot, but you were definitely passive aggressively trying to push her to get on birth control and trying to scare her with the specifics of what goes down in a vasectomy. Well, I'm gonna let it go because she let it go. She said that thankfully she never had to get on birth control and he never had to get a vasectomy, and they figured it out. They never actually told us what they figured out, but let's just move on. So now let's get to this Jeremy, Laura, and Sarah Ann debacle. We see that Jeremy is on stage with this dusty Hawaiian shirt on and this old school Miami Vice suit. He always has this almost like strung out look to him. They ask him, is he dating anybody right now? He's like, yeah, I am. And then of course, Sarah came out real messy, pretty much like she was a Jerry Springer contestant. Like, it just was the whole thing was screaming Maury. Like, this whole reunion, it was so messy. They told everybody that they've been dating for a year and they've been living together, and everybody in the crowd and up on stage, nigga Vanessa, everybody was giving a stank look like, ain't nobody rooting for them. Laura couldn't be there in person, so she zoomed in. Laura pops up on the screen, and Sarah Ann leans over like, should we clap? He was like, no. Petty. They confront him about the tea that's out there, that he applied for this show while still being with his ex-fiance, and he denied it. And he said that he sold his house first before he applied to the show. And I'm like, okay, how long were y'all separated before you signed up? I just don't think you should jump from an engagement straight to a show like this. Once again, I feel like the show is trying to put them on Front Street and trying to embarrass them and put a spotlight on the situation to act like they're cracking down on it, when really y'all didn't do your job when it came to vetting a lot of these people. So yes, I'm here for going in on the people, but I'm still going to give Love is Blind casting. Y'all making all this money. Y'all need to pay an Inspector Gadget to look up these people's history. It's somebody every season that had a girlfriend right before coming, that was engaged. Y'all should do a better job of vetting by now. Then they asked him, well, why would you lie about your location even though you shared it with Laura? Because the rumor is that he left his phone in the car, but he had on his Apple Watch and she was still able to see where he was through the watch, even though he was trying to be tricky and leave it in the phone. He basically said that he didn't intentionally lie, and she was like, well, if I never awakened, then I would have never known. Both he and Sarah vehemently deny that he actually stayed there longer than a few minutes, that he just dropped her off and she didn't even really let him in. And he also claimed that he came straight home and told her all about what happened. And she's basically said, no, I was the one that saw you coming home through your location, and I was waiting up for you, and I had to hem you up in order to get the truth out of you. And neither was backing down. And here comes Sarah, and she was like, well, you called me a pick me when you were telling him things about me while we were in the pods. And she's getting hype and just jumps into it, and it's like, Sarah Ann love to run her mouth, but you might as well pipe down, because every time you get rowdy, you always get shut down very easily. You really don't have a leg to stand on in this situation, so I don't understand why she be getting so hype. Then we have a never before seen clip, and we see Sarah Ann talking to Laura about the whole situation apologizing. But her apologizing came with a lot of justifying. You know what I'm saying? She gave every reason as to why she felt it was okay to send the message to him. She felt she never got to tell him how she really felt, and she needed closure, and she thought it wouldn't affect Laura because she's so strong. And it's like, girl, that's my man. That's my man. That's my man. Are you crazy coming to me like that? And she just kept yapping and yapping and yapping. You're over explaining and you're over talking, Laura. And it's kind of like you were trying to manipulate the situation to make it seem like because you're apologetic that she would look crazy if she were to come at you after that. But no, the situation is the situation. The facts are facts. Regardless of whether he went to your house or not, you reaching out to him that way and staying in that car talking to him all night long was trifling when you knew he had a fiance. You know, she ends up saying to her in the clip, you know, I blame him more than anything. He asked her, is there any part of you that feels like you made a mistake or like you want to be with Sarah? And he told her that it was no chance and told Sarah that he would constantly throw her under the bus, basically acting like Sarah was the one running after him. He acted one way in the pods and then he completely flipped and acted a totally different way when we met in person. And she said he's always more concerned about his image and how he comes across, and he just didn't want to look worse than Jimmy. And so, you know, when Jimmy heard that, he perked up. He was like, you know, raising his eyebrow like, what's going on with that, bro? And Jeremy was trying to brush it off like, I don't even know what she's talking about. But he was like, well, it kind of aligns with your behavior, because when we were in the pods and I was having such a rough decision between choosing Chelsea or Jessica, everybody else was standing behind me trying to build me up and trying to, you know, be there for me. And here you go over here. Well, I could sleep well at night knowing that Jimmy's going to be the villain. So you said it. You said it. And see, that's my thing with Jeremy. He does like to play the victim. And even when he does take responsibility, it's because you got caught. You don't like to admit when people first confront you, and you try to pretend like you're this innocent angel. Nobody's believing it. Nobody's buying it. So then they bring up the fact that the women don't seem to take too kindly to Sarah Ann. Chelsea was like, well, it's the fact that you unfollowed all the women, but then you want to continue following our fiancés. And we felt some type of way about that. Definitely following the side chick handbook with that one. I was like, the nerve and the audacity. And that's when she was like, well, y'all kicked me out of the group chat. And Jessica spoke up and was like, well, I was the one who kicked you out of the group chat. And so, you know, they start bickering back and forth. And Jess was like, well, here's your moment. You're looking for your moment. You're looking for your moment. It's like, Jessica, you looking for yours too. You're really projecting it all on Sarah Ann. And I do feel like Sarah Ann liked the attention a little bit too. But you're here strictly for lights, camera, action. She kept saying, being the loudest in the room doesn't make you the most noticeable. She said that a few times and it flopped. And it's like she kept repeating it because she wanted the crowd to go wild over it, and it just wasn't that. I don't know. She just gives thirsty to me to be calling Sarah Ann out. I'm just like, y'all were kind of on the same tip. Like, you were saying some pretty disrespectful things about Jimmy to Laura as well. I don't understand how Sarah doesn't see how she's coming across to the women and why the women would look at her crazy in a situation like this. You're more mad at them than the man that chose somebody else over you. Got you out here looking crazy to the world, but you want to have all the smoke for the women. That doesn't make any sense. At some point they asked, has anybody seen Jeremy after everything went down? And Chelsea was like, well, every time I see him, they're broken up. That completely caught Sarah Ann off guard. You could tell, because when Chelsea said that, she kind of looked at him like, what? Yeah, girl, that's what he was telling people clearly. He just went on this long explanation about how they've had a lot of ups and downs, and it's pretty much been rocky from the jump. And it's like you never win when you play dirty. Y'all are not going to be happy in that relationship because of how sneaky and devious y'all were to get into the relationship. Y'all are never fully going to trust each other because of it. So then they pull up a video where Sarah was alluding to all of this being just for TV or all of it is just entertainment. You know, to me, that kind of confirmed their relationship is for play. If you're willing to talk about it like that. I was shocked that it was going in so hard on Sarah, but I think it's because she was making the show look like it was fake and like it was scripted, and it would make the show lose credibility. So they were really just hammering in on Sarah. I was like, dang. Sarah was fighting for her life, but she was losing. At the end of the day, Sarah, we don't want no Risa Tisa 50-part video series on TikTok with you telling us all about what Jeremy did to you. I done already seen a couple of videos from his ex. Yeah, I did think it was a little messed up how fast that he dropped Laura. And, you know, she was talking about how her granny, her 92-year-old granny, had to change her flight. Child, I understand how that could affect you. But Laura, let's be real. Y'all didn't mesh. Even when y'all first met each other, there were no sparks there. He was getting on your last nerve when y'all were on that vacation. Y'all had a big blow up, the biggest blow up out of everybody, in front of everybody, okay? So let's not act like y'all were just meant to be and Sarah came in and put a wedge in there. Y'all weren't never gonna make it. It was just disrespectful of them how they did it. Now, they were doing good in this reunion until this part right here, because they were gonna let Laura leave without ever discussing the bean dip situation. I feel like that's one of the most controversial things that happened this season. And Laura herself had to be the one to bring it up. She got to come in and spin her own narrative on it without being questioned at all. I don't know. I just feel like she deserved a lot more smoke because she only apologized for the backlash. She still was claiming that it was a harmless joke. And regardless of whether you think it was harmless or not, I don't know if I believe all of that. I feel like y'all were playing an AD face. I really do. And then when y'all got a little backlash and somebody was trying to hold you accountable, you was trying to push the blame on everybody else and you weren't trying to take any. I feel like still in this moment, yeah, you were apologizing. It was a lot of apologizing, a lot of fake apologizing, but still justifying what you did. So now let's move on to Trevor. Trevor came out looking like a doofy goof troop that he is. Okay, his demeanor was very much so like that of a child that got sent to the corner and has their little dunce cap on. That's the way he was acting. Like, get out of here. Don't nobody feel bad for you. I'm still mad at Trevor because he had me fooled. I can't believe I fell for that little routine you put on. And it's not going to work here. So you might as well tell the truth. Once again, production had Nick and Vanessa publicly shamed this man because they're making the show look very bad because they're not vetting these men correctly. So it turns out that he had a girlfriend the entire time that he was on the show and was texting her before and after the pods, and they pulled up the receipts that had Nick and Vanessa basically doing some theater where Nick was acting out his text and Vanessa was acting out hers. I was here for it, okay? And in those texts, it exposed that he was basically faking, and he even told the girl he wanted to marry her after he left the pods. Once again, he had this stupid look on his face like he almost wanted to laugh, and they asked him, well, what do you have to say for yourself? He's sitting there glitching like that meme. Like, if I stay still, maybe people won't see me. Or waiting for somebody to rescue him. And I love that AD was like, nah, say it with your chest. You thought it was cute back then when you was doing it. So he's sitting up here claiming they were never official. He never asked her to be his girlfriend. And, you know, they just had a really toxic relationship. And Nick was just like holding his feet to the fire. Like, don't act like you don't care about her or you didn't care about the situation when you was telling the girl you loved her. Just be real. You wanted to be on TV so bad that you were willing to fake a relationship with someone. And you found the most insecure woman that you could latch on to so you could finagle your way into getting some camera time. That's exactly what went down. And if you were honest, you might have gotten a little bit of redemption. A little, just a tiny. But the fact that you came on this show and still was trying to weasel your way out of it, fake taking accountability, but still trying to explain away what you did. And you was lying. Of course, Chelsea had to confront him and claim she was following her intuition and that's why she didn't pick him. You still chose Jimmy. Your intuition didn't tell you about him? Girl, please. You need to be real as well, Chelsea. The only reason why you went with Jimmy is because One, all the women in the pods was going after Jimmy, and you wanted to feel like you won him, and you wanted to feel like you was one up over Jessica. Period. Y'all were in competition. I don't know what this whole thing with y'all coming together and our best friends and her little girl is calling you auntie and everything. That's just weird. Yet and still, Chelsea deserved to say her piece to Trevor because what he did was dead wrong. Still at the end of the day. You know, he's sitting up here fighting for his life, saying that he did take the experiment seriously when he was there and he was inconsolable. And Johnny was there and he was like, y'all believe Johnny, right? Trying to get Johnny to shoot him some bail. Johnny was like, yeah, I saw it, but he really wasn't trying to be in it either. And Amy was like, you ain't about to pull my man into it. Were you upset because you couldn't get Chelsea, or were you upset because you couldn't continue on the show? And I was like, thank you. I guess it got too hot for him right then and there. So he was like, well, can I leave? And Vanessa asked him, well, did you come on this show to forward your career? And he was like, what career? And she was like, I don't know. I have no idea. No, I ain't gonna lie. You ate that one tiny little thing, Vanessa. That was funny. Nick gave his whole PR damage control speech about they only want to have people on this show that actually want love. It's not fair to the people on this stage. It's not fair to the audience. This is a TV show. Everybody on that stage, to a certain extent, wants to be seen, wants attention in various degrees. Let's be honest, okay? Not everybody gets caught. Most of y'all do, because there's some TikTok sleuths on the internet that be digging up y'all information. Everybody to a certain degree wants to be seen. We just have to be honest about that. But y'all need to be doing a better job researching these people. Half of it is y'all fault. And at the end, Nick was like, well, you said you want to leave. Well, you can go. Okay. Whew, this was a long reunion, y'all. I ain't gonna lie. 30 minutes of this reunion felt like a full reunion in itself. Like, I couldn't believe it was just so meaty, especially in the first half. The second half kind of fell off. But let's get to Clay and AD. Clay D. I'm not feeling the games that are being played. I'm not. I feel like it's some playing with our intelligence going on. So we have Clay sitting up here looking like a knockoff Bill Bellamy. Somebody said that in my comments and I was like, that's who he looked like. Because everybody kept saying Lil Nas X, and I can see a resemblance there, but he really does give Bill Bellamy energy, for real. I was already mad at Clay because I had just saw that TikTok that he posted trying to make it seem like people that, especially black people, that were questioning him coming on the show, knowing you weren't ready for marriage. Why are you coming on the show where you're supposed to get married? And he was like, y'all are gonna believe an edit on these white people show? Not him playing a race card. How dare you? We are not dumb, okay? You can't play those games over here. And yes, we know people can be edited in a certain way, but everything that you said and did came out of your own mouth. You yourself said you were not ready to get married. You yourself said when you watched that season with Brett on it, you felt inadequate. Stop trying to play with our intelligence, okay? I didn't like that, Clay. I already have a distaste for Clay. Don't try to play the race card, because there are real situations, especially on a show like this, where that's valid. And I do think to a certain extent they edit in a certain way and it can be racially biased and things like that. What you did to AD is what you did to AD, and even AD is confirming that, so stop it. So they asked him what happened after the wedding. They didn't speak for a couple of weeks. He said he didn't reach out at first. And I was like, we know you couldn't be bothered to reach out because you couldn't even be bothered to come home when y'all was together. Anyway, he did eventually reach out, and he said that he apologized to her mom and family for what he did. And they asked him, do you regret your decision? And Clay can never give a straight answer. I want, for once, someone to ask this man a yes or no question and him say yes or no. No, he has to go on this roundabout tangent. He has to rock back and forth, and he has to think of this long-winded roundabout way of saying things to try to make himself look better, and it's so annoying. Basically, he said he leaned so much on AD, and she pretty much had to keep him lifted up in this whole process, and he didn't think he deserved love and marriage. And he's been going to therapy since then. He recycled through many therapists, and he does eventually say that he thinks he made a mistake and that she is the love of his life. And I'm sorry, A lot of people are giving him a lot of credit for admitting these things. And it's Clay admitted all of this stuff back then, except for making a mistake of what he did on the wedding day. Everything else he's been said. He's been said it. He's been admitted it. Just because you're hyper aware of what you're doing wrong and you're willing to admit your wrongdoing, it doesn't excuse what you actually do. It doesn't excuse the actions. And I feel like a lot of people are trying to just brush past that. Clay is so performative. I feel like what he said, it was like a speech he rehearsed. It just didn't feel natural. It didn't feel authentic, right? And so then they look to AD and it's like, how do you feel about what you just said? She was like, well, what am I supposed to do with that? I can't do anything with that. Like, what's done is done. And I wish she would stand on business. I just wish AD talk a good game. AD also was being a little performative and saying what she knew people wanted to hear her say. But I just don't feel like she believed everything she was saying. So they asked her, would you ever date him again? And she just did like a long stare. And then she looks at him and they start laughing. He's like, what? And she said, next question. And if y'all haven't seen that video of them during the holidays, during Thanksgiving, they were together. Now, I don't know were they officially in a relationship, but why is she hanging out with his family during the holidays? So when she never gave that answer, to me, it's like, well, did y'all ever stop messing around? They asked him and he said he 1,000% would be with her. And so everybody starts clapping and she was like, don't clap. You had your chance. You had your chance. She told him, you played in my face because you knew you didn't want to get married. And he was like, I did want to get married. And she was like, then why we not married? And he starts crying about wanting to be a better man and how this process exposed him for his issues and showed him that he just wasn't ready to get married to begin with. And look, to a certain extent, I really do believe that. I will give Clay that. I believe that he didn't realize how jacked up he was until he came in here and he realized that he had those issues with his father. He realized that he didn't understand what a healthy relationship was. I believe that. I do truly believe that. But I think the problem is you made AD your therapist. You made her carry a lot of that baggage. I just feel like you could have let her know sooner than at that altar and publicly humiliate her after she had your back this entire time. And I feel like for AD, she has to stop being that crutch and coddling him. He started pouring his heart out and, to a certain extent playing the victim a little bit. And she, once again, runs back and starts coddling him. You are a good person. I had to cut it off, y'all. I had to take a break. That made me mad. I was in my feelings when she did that. Because I'm like, you are all talk. You are not standing on business. Like, everything that you said at this reunion fell flat. Because once again, I remember that video and I don't believe any of this. I believe you still been talking to him, messing around him, whatever y'all doing behind the scenes. I don't believe y'all ever stop. So everything you're saying, your reactions, it just doesn't feel real. It just feels like you're putting on because you want all the women to rally behind you or something. I don't know, y'all. I wasn't feeling it. And I like AD. I feel like to a certain extent, they are in cahoots. I don't know. Is it just me? Y'all let me know what y'all think down below. I don't know. And even if y'all are not, I just can't get behind you getting back with this man after he did that to you. Because he's going to continue to dog you out. And once again, I don't want a Risa Tisa TikTok series hearing about it. Because you already know this man that dogged you out, humiliated you, embarrassed you, and you still going to mess around with him. Anyway, after she stands up for him, Nick gives him another figurative rock in the bosom, gives him a good old pat on the back and tells him how he's doing the right thing. And, everybody gives him a round of applause. And I'm just like, so he really didn't get held accountable for not coming home. Because that didn't even get brought up. Y'all sitting up here applauding this man. He didn't even have to answer for half the stuff he did. How about the fact that he wanted to ruin the experiment by saying, well, I'm not going to move forward with you unless you tell me how you look. Nobody's going to hold him accountable for that either. Like, I don't know, y'all. With this situation, they kind of dropped the ball as well. This is where the reunion starts going down for me. So then they bring up Clay's mother and father and that conversation that they had, which to me is one of the best parts of the season, most powerful moments. And they ask him, well, your mother told your father he needs to address that situation, take accountability for what he did, apologize without making excuses. And Clay pretty much said he never apologized or admitted any wrongdoing. And, I don't know, Clay can sugarcoat this as much as he wants to, but his dad is dead wrong for not doing that because he really traumatized Clay. And it's sad that he can't even give him so much as an apology or an explanation, a real explanation where you sit down and you have a real conversation to your son about your ways and how he doesn't need to follow in your footsteps and just taking accountability, and Clay, he's still lost in the sauce and calling him a good father, which I feel like Clay is just happy to have him in his life and, isn't looking for much more fatherly duties out of him other than like a friendship. So then they brought up, when Clay was talking about watching someone on Love is Blind and feeling inadequate because he was comparing himself to that particular contestant. Turns out it was Brett. I knew it. Brett was very touched by that because Brett said he grew up with not the best example of a marriage either. And he was concerned about how he would be as a husband as well. It's cute to see them, that they're still together. Tiffany told him that, he's doing an amazing job as a husband. I believe her. She look happy to me, child. Okay, they constantly going on a trip somewhere. Later on in the reunion, they asked AD about Matthew. First of all, Matthew declined showing up. I'm sure you did, because you was going to get dogged out just like Trevor. But I'm glad that they finally brought the receipts of what he said to Amber versus what he said to AD, which was virtually the same thing. She said she particularly felt betrayed by the dad part, because her dad passed away, and for him to bring that up, that bothered her. But she confirmed that she learned nothing from that situation and nothing from this experience with Clay or anything else. And her standards remain in the gutter. I'm sorry, y'all. Them standards low. Them standards at the earth's core. I can't even see them. They disintegrated because she said that she went on not one date, but 2 dates with Matthew, even after he lied and manipulated you and played you against another woman. I don't care if he did apologize. Y'all, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Not only that, she said on the second day he cooked for her and you ate it. You ate it? You ate anything he served you? Are you... Baby, we need standards, honey. Now, I would tell you to stand up, but we need to take baby steps. Just sit up. Okay? Because you laying flat on the ground at this point. What? You actually gave this man the time of day? I wouldn't even glance in his direction ever again in life. Are you crazy? He would have been blocked on everything. And then we found out that he took Amber as well. It's just feeling real hopeless after that. But let's move on to Jessica, Jimmy, and Chelsea. I'm sorry, y'all. Jessica was a flop at this reunion. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people love her. First of all, the look that Amy had on, that's what I expected for Jessica to wear. Something really vampy and, very kind of like Kardashian-like. I expected something out of this world. But when she showed up in that Fashion Nova reject dress, I was like, this is your big chance. I thought your whole thing was looking like an IG baddie. I don't know. I wasn't feeling it. She kept interjecting in everything the entire time. Not to compare, but I feel like she thinks she's giving what AD is actually giving. AD naturally has a lot of personality and charisma. And when she interjects, like, usually you perk up, you want to hear what AD has to say, or, she has something quick and quippy and witty to say, funny. She's kind of quick on her feet. All of Jessica's interactions and, when she was trying to go off on people or go in or, make a little statement. It just felt forced and inauthentic. It wasn't giving. You could tell she really wanted a moment. They asked her how her daughter felt about her being on the show. She said that she was very excited, but she only let her watch parts of the season. She didn't let her watch everything, and she's met the female cast, and I guess that's cute or whatever. She said that her daughter has never seen her cry, and she tries to stay strong in front of her. And she had a moment, when I talk about my daughter, and she tries to act like she was choking up, not one tear, just jumped straight into a different emotion. I'm just like, that was painfully bad. Like, why does she always feel like she has to choke up when talking about her daughter? Like, it just, if you're a good mama, I believe you. If you say you love your daughter, I believe you. But when you do little stuff like that where you're pretending to cry and you don't, I was giving her a major side eye. They asked Chelsea, how does she feel about the conversation between Jessica and Laura? She felt disrespected by the conversation, and she was already insecure with the relationship. But she pretty much brushed it off and said they were cool already. Jessica admitted she was wrong and that she didn't deserve any grace for their situation. But I don't know. It just feels like Jessica went out of her way to be super cool with her. Not saying she's like faking a friendship with her, but you could just tell she preemptively fixed the whole situation, talked about it. They discussed it all behind the scenes so she wouldn't look as bad at the reunion, because they didn't even dig into it. They didn't even really press her on it at all and ask her, well, why do you feel like you can go in on Sarah Ann when you said what you said with Laura? Because she definitely had a lot to say about other people's situations. So then they asked Jimmy, how did his friend feel about Chelsea exposing to the world that they had messed around before? And he basically was like, she didn't deserve that, and the friend is just mad pretty much that he told Chelsea in the first place, but he was just trying to be forthcoming with his partner. And I totally understand that, especially since he wanted to keep it a secret and he was trying to keep it on the low. You know what I'm saying? He also didn't think it was a big issue because she still hangs out with her ex. She's like, I do hang out with my ex, but you FaceTimed him, Chelsea. Stop it. Like, take accountability. You was dead wrong for what you did. And yes, it doesn't matter if you don't hang out with your ex all the time. FaceTiming him right as you get engaged to somebody else, that is not, don't act like that's just normal. Like, people just be okay with that. And then you turn around, you have a problem with him having female friends. Like, stop. And I also wish the cast would have been real about it. It just feels like they were tiptoeing around Chelsea a lot because they're friends with her. But nobody really put Chelsea on the hot seat. Nobody really zeroed in on Chelsea's terrible behavior, the way that she was manipulative towards Jimmy and was trying to isolate him from her friends. Nobody really put a spotlight on that. And also the fact that both of them were faking in front. Every time y'all got in front of other couples, yeah, we're doing so great, I love you, Jimmy, and just, putting on this act whenever y'all were around the other couples. And then to find out y'all were fighting every other night and he was sleeping at his place every other, you know what I'm saying? Y'all were not being real. And, Nick and Jessica asked them, like, how did y'all feel seeing what was really going down versus what they were presenting towards y'all? And, AD kind of mentioned like, well, that's not who I thought Chelsea was, but I kind of wish they would have really been honest about that. Or at least Chelsea and Jimmy be held accountable for being frauds. And then on top of that, they didn't even ask Chelsea and Jimmy's relationship status when we just saw a video of them not too long ago out to dinner. Now, we don't know if that means they're together or not, because clearly both of them are still friendly with their exes. That's a burning question to ask. They also didn't bring up how Chelsea and Jimmy objectified and embarrassed AD. How he's over here, she's stacked. Right? And my cousin just sent me an article saying Jimmy was talking about he's open to dating AD. I bet you are. I hope she never gives you the time of day. But guess what? AD, I wouldn't be surprised if they were dating, child. But yeah, and then the fact that Chelsea busts her out, I was like, girl, how you get a booty like that? And just, I don't know. It was just all disrespectful. And they didn't even address it. Every little bit of praise I gave them for the first half, they just completely disappointed me on the second half. So then they get to Jessica and Jimmy again, and, talking about how he followed her. He was like, well, I followed everybody at first, but then you felt a little salty that she didn't follow you back, so you took that follow back and privated his page. And he was like, well, I guess you did all the detective work you needed to do before I privated it. And I'm thinking he's referring to when she told Laura that all of his exes looked like her. They didn't even bring that up. Y'all, that made me so mad. That made me so mad, because it's like, I want her to be put on blast for her looking crazy. You're sitting up here looking into this man's past, like, all of his exes look like me. So first of all, you low-key trying to put Chelsea down. Answer for that. And two, why do you even care? This man chose somebody else over you. Why are you looking into his past girlfriends? So then here go Jessica really trying to have a moment, okay? She called him out for lying on her on a podcast and saying that she constantly hammered him about him having multiple connections with different women. And it's like, yeah, you did say the first round draft pick stuff and saying that you wanted him to explore all his options before coming to you because she wanted to be the number one pick. But you sent that letter, that husband letter. And I'm sorry, I don't care what nobody says. You were trying to make him make a choice in that moment. He didn't tell you what you wanted to hear, and so you felt some type of way about it. Now, with the whole situation of her storming out after 10 minutes, they showed the receipts of that, and they actually spent over 2 hours together. You know, she was vindicated about that when she called him out for that. Jimmy, I don't know why that's a hill you wanted to die on. That doesn't make any sense. You should have just admitted you were wrong, apologize for that part. But I still feel like she was looking for a moment. She was trying to go in. She was trying to have that clip to go viral on Twitter and TikTok. And it fell flat once again because nobody really cares. It feels like she's still embarrassed that he didn't choose her. They bring up the whole Megan Fox thing with Chelsea. Obviously, she regrets it. I still think she was being manipulative, trying to make him pick her. But did she deserve that much hate about it? No. I feel like there's things that they really could have scrutinized Chelsea on more than that whole Megan Fox thing. I do think it kind of got blew out of proportion. But he also lied about his looks as well. He said he looked like this football player. And I'm not seeing that either. So that's why it kind of took the steam out of the whole Megan Fox thing for me. Because y'all need to play that part of who he said he looked like. Because they were both deceiving each other. So finally, let's talk about Brittany and Kenneth. When I tell you Kenneth got off scot-free, they let Kenneth off easy. They barely asked him any questions. I could not believe it. And I think a big part of it was Brittany wasn't even holding him accountable for anything. So they ended up asking Kenneth about that daggone phone that he could not put down that was permanently attached to his hand, okay? And he still would not take any accountability and acted like it was all about his job and him being a principal and basically used that as an excuse. And it sounds good, Kenneth, but you were very cold to her even when you didn't have a phone. You was quiet. You were very neglectful and very dismissive of her feelings. I just feel like that was not pointed out enough. And a lot of times she came in and was kind of deflecting and, you know, joking around. Girl, no. We need to get down to the nitty gritty of why he did that. And so she was kind of blocking a lot of criticism he possibly could have gotten. You know, playing that AD card, coddling him. You know, they asked him, well, you really just didn't even seem fazed by the breakup. And he was like, well, everybody processes emotions differently. He basically said that he called Clay upset about everything. But you didn't give her any sort of emotion. Like, she deserves some sort of I'm sorry. It just felt like you just completely dropped her out of nowhere. I'm really mad that they didn't address him coming home at 1 a.m., waking her up out of her sleep after getting his hair twisted. They were just really giving him softball questions, and that was making me so mad because y'all just went in on Sarah Ann and Jeremy, which rightfully so y'all should have, but y'all need to be asking him, where was you at 1 a.m.? Did you share your location? Because I would need to know where you was. Getting your hair twisted. And then they didn't address the gaslighting and acting like he was not the one committing. Like, he was putting it all on her. Like, she was the one not attracted to him. And, oh, because you're not attracted to me, let me end this relationship. When really, you're the reason why. And I don't know, they just really let him get away with murder. I could not. I was seething when they didn't ask him anything. And then they didn't even address the allegations that are against him. You know, they played the friend card at the end. Oh, yeah, we talk all the time. So annoying. I wanted Brittany to stand up. You didn't stand up for yourself that entire relationship. At least come to the reunion where you know you'll have backup. And ask him the real hard-hitting questions. Why would you act like that with me? Why would you treat me like that? And in front of everybody, you did me dirty. Like, I just wanted her to be real. I really thought it was hilarious that they had a big feast at the end because they were really trying to beat those starving allegations of not giving them people food in the pods, allegedly. It was funny because you could tell it's like they did that on purpose. Like, everybody raise your glass. Anyway, y'all, let me know what y'all think about this reunion down below. Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? Also, like I said, send me all the tea to my DMs. I need to know these things. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one. Peace.